I also want to kind of talk about, while I have her here sitting on the dog, about how I'm going to go about correcting some of the unwanted behaviors we see, like growling and snipping and biting, and being aggressive towards other dogs when she's not happy. So it's extremely important, first and foremost, to remember that growling and biting of any kind is communication. Dogs can't just say, hey, I don't like that. So they growl and they bite as their way of saying that. So it's really important to understand that that behavior is normal in a dog and shouldn't ever be completely trained out. Because if you correct a dog for growling excessively, if you correct excessively for a dog growling, they'll eventually just not growl and they'll snap. And then you have no warnings, right? So it's important that we understand that that is communication and that can be appropriate, but at the same time, it's also important to teach your dog when it's appropriate. So for instance, just a little bit ago, shortly after I stopped the first video, Gretel came over and wanted to investigate and see what Maggie was about. Maggie wasn't having it and growled at her. So Gretel wasn't doing anything obnoxious. She was just sniffing face to face, wasn't doing anything. And so that growl was unwarranted, right? Because there was no reason for it. She may not have liked it, but there was no reason to take it far enough as to growl, right? So what I did was I corrected her. I told her, no, ma'am. But I also moved Gretel out of the situation. So that's something else that's super important to remember when we're correcting these behavioral issues that can lead to aggression, is that, while yes, we're going to correct the dog, we're going to tell the aggressor that, hey, this isn't that big of a deal, there's no need to be growling, let's not do that again, but we're also going to move on from the situation. So I moved Gretel out of the way, I redirected her focus onto something else, and so we pushed past the situation and we separated everything. So that's important too, because if we're trying to teach the aggressor not to be aggressive, but the other dog is being an asshole, then we can't, it's kind of a moot point for her. She doesn't, she's going to get confused. Well, this dog gets to be like that, but I can't be like this. And a lot of times that can end up with an adverse effect, and she could be even more aggressive than she started. So I just wanted to go ahead and talk about that a little bit. So a good instance is if Maggie is playing with that bone that she really likes, and, you two are playing and getting riled up, and Roxy wants to come over and see what's going on, and Roxy hasn't even done anything yet. She just walked over, and Maggie started growling. Okay, well, there was no reason for Maggie to growl. Maggie was still communicating to Roxy and saying, hey, I don't want you here, which is fine, but at the same time, there was also no need for it. So the perfect scenario for that would be you tell Maggie, no, ma'am, we don't need to be growling for that, and you move Roxy onto something else. You maybe throw a ball for her, give her her own toy, or whatever. So that's kind of making it a win-win situation for everybody, okay? So we're not just going to focus on one dog and teaching that dog to hush its mouth and to deal with it. We're also going to teach the other dog that, okay, well, she doesn't like that, so maybe let's not do that too.